Today, we're sprinkling joy into your day. Welcome to the Create a Magical Day podcast. Hey, Joyful Jania here from Create a Magical Day, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Oh my gosh, I have a special guest, and I cannot wait to bring her on. She is one of my oldest and dearest friends. But before I bring her on, I like to start with some joy. So something that is bringing me joy today is I did a solo vacation, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. I will do a whole podcast on it, but it was so divine because it's what I needed. Sometimes we need those moments that are just to ourselves. Can I get an amen? Yes. So during this time, I slept in when I wanted to sleep in. I got up early when I wanted to get up early. I walked a lot of beautiful places. I ate delicious food. I went to cool new cafes, and it was I'm just floating right now. I'm just floating. And so I will tell you the cool place that I went to, drum roll, is San Diego, California. You will probably hear me talk so much about San Diego because it is one of my favorite places to go to. It's so peaceful there. Everybody's just real cool vibes. And I so appreciate that. And I had so many conversations about joy. Oh my gosh. Like I was sitting in this cafe and this guy looked over and he's like, "What are you working on?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm working on this cool joyful challenge." And he's like, "Oh, what's that?" And so I told him about the podcast and he wanted to know more. He's like, "Oh, do you do topics on this? Have you ever thought about this?" And it was just such a divine conversation. The Uber driver at the end was like, "Oh my gosh, you just brought me so much joy today." So it was confirmation that joy is here and everybody loves it or wants more of it. I am so excited to introduce to you my really good friend, Ajiri Aki. She is an American-Nigerian living in Paris. She is the author of JOIE, a Parisian guide to celebrating the good life, and the founder of Madame de la Maison, an entertaining and lifestyle brand. All right, come on in here, Ajiri, and let's talk about some joy. Well, hello there, Ajiri.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, welcome to the Create a Magical Day podcast. I am so excited to have you here. How are you today, my friend?
I'm great. The sun is finally out in Paris, so I can't complain.
Oh yeah, I've been reading your complaining post.
Lots of rain.
Awesome. Well, I like to start the podcast with a card reading. There are so many decks. I'm obsessed with all things affirmations. So
Yes.
I'm going to pull a card from How to Love Yourself cards. So you
Okay.
tell me when to stop, and then that's the card I'm going to pull for you.
Okay. Stop.
All
Forgot to
right.
stop.
All right. So this one says, oh, I like this. So it says, "I am gentle, kind, and comforting to my inner child as we uncover and release the old negative messages from family and society."
That's good. I love that.
Yeah. And then the other side says, "I'm not restricted by limiting beliefs."
Ooh, you have to send me a copy of that. That's great.
I will. So what comes up for you real quick, like when you hear those?
Well, I think for sure, I definitely have limiting beliefs from my childhood that, I don't have money or there's not ways for me to do this. I don't have support and people in my corner. But, that's not true because, I have that belief because, I literally did not have people in my corner, kind of. I mean, I had you for sure. But so, yeah, I think like sometimes I revert back to that when I feel alone or, like how am I going to get through this? But it's not true. I do have people in my corner. So yeah, that was a good card.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely send you a copy of that. Well, first of all, I already said this, but I'm so excited because like we are some of like the oldest friends.
Yes.
And I think it's so beautiful that a couple of things that like one, we still like, we'll be close no matter how often we talk. And I'm so thankful for that. And what's so dope is that we're both in the space of joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we do it differently, but ultimately, like we want to experience more joy and we want to share that with others and show them how to do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think
So
that's
you know what I think? Okay, so I would love, and I know that I know about your company and you. But I want you to tell my listeners, like, tell us a little bit about Madame de la Maison. Like, how does the mission and vision align with the pursuit of joy in everyday life? And how do you see your products enhancing joy for your customers?
So, Madame de la Maison is a tabletop lifestyle brand. And, my mission is to help people gather around the table, because I believe that that does bring joy. And I do that through the things that I curate and that I sell. They're there to sort of like aid you and inspire you to want to host more gatherings. I think that that's really important, and we should do it with beautiful objects. So that's what my business is. It's been 6 years now.
That is so congratulations. That's so awesome. And I have to say that every time I host something, I always bust out my linen. Actually, my linen stays on the table, but I might change it out. And then I have like all the colorful napkins. The last party that we used it for was so much fun. It was for my mom's and we did it outside. And Lisa had like all the napkins coordinated. We even bought like
I love that.
colorful plates to go with them. And
Yes.
I love, you know what? Like, I love the beauty that the
Mm,
simplicity of the linens bring
yeah,
to a
absolutely.
gathering.
Yeah, it elevates the moment.
It really does. Oh, and another thing that I think about you talk about is your mom's story about the china
Yes. Yes.
and bringing out the good stuff. The china I haven't used it because I haven't gotten your permission. But but I still have it, and I'm keeping it close and safe. But
Yeah.
I think about that is like using the good stuff when
Yeah.
we are like gathering with people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. First of all, if you start with already having objects that you think are beautiful, that bring you joy, you will, whenever you bring it out, whenever you set the table, whether it's for yourself or with friends, I think that, that's already, joy inducing for your guest, for yourself, for you as the host. So definitely, it's there's a different feeling that you can describe if you just eat off paper plates, versus like if you sit down and eat with, objects that you find beautiful.
I have to say plus one to that. Absolutely. Like I have paper plates, like when you want to
Oh yeah,
quickly throw
sorry, I
something
don't mean
away.
to.
But you know that when I'm sitting down, I like to grab a nice plate
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
like the clinking noise,
yeah, of course. But it's just this idea that every day is special. And
Mm,
I'm not going to talk about the environmental factors because that's a whole nother thing. But um, I don't know, like the way I feel when I'm eating on paper plates versus when I'm eating on a real plate is just not really the same.
yeah. No, I feel you with that. So speaking of the connecting with people, like how does a concept of fellowship and connection as emphasized in your business philosophy contribute to creating moments of joy for both you as the founder and for your customers?
Well, I think that for me, gathering and fellowship is something that's always pulled me through life in different stages. When I was young, and we went to the Nigerian African Christian Fellowship. So it was really important to me that that is a strong message
Mhm.
through my company. And, I think that, in the way that I do this, I might be going kind of off base of your question, but in
No.
the way that I do this, I think it's just, um, you know, for myself, it's so important, but also for the business. I think everybody, connection is so important for people.
Yeah,
And we know the science is there. We're currently living in America in an epidemic of loneliness. And, the answer and the cure to that really is connection. So,
absolutely.
I really feel like that message is important for me personally and for the work that I'm doing through the table, because I'm giving people the tools essentially
Mhm.
to um to do that. And just by social media or just by newsletters or just by what I do, it's kind of reminding them that they should be doing that.
Yeah, I love that. So I have to ask you kind of on the personal note because I know, we see what you post at home. Tell me how the kids are getting involved. Like I see pictures of Numi and Baz and trying to help set the table. So what is that like?
Well, for one, it's really cute because sometimes when I'm trying to set the table and do a photo shoot, and if the kids
Mhm.
are actually here, they're like, "Oh, wait, mom, I want to help. I want to do this." And I'm like, wait, mom wants to do it this way. But Baz is like, "Oh, I'm going to do the flowers." And I'm like, "Okay." And, you just have to let them help because, they want to be a part of it too. I mean, really, I also talk about in my book about modeling joy for kids. And I find it so darling that they love that and they care. And like, when I'm away, they love setting the table, or when we're with friends, like Baz will go out to the garden and just like, snacks, grab some flowers and start putting them on the table.
Aw.
I love that when I'm not even here, they're still doing it. Like it really touches my heart to see that they're doing that when I'm not here and that they want to be so involved. Even when I'm trying to make it look a certain way because it's my like creative vision, they're like, "Oh wait, I need to get in on that. They need to have their touches on it too." So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so
definitely something
neat.
that they're into.
Yeah, and what's so cool is, like, to be so young and to care about the aesthetics and how it brings them joy, and how you as a parent model
Yeah.
that, and they're following that, and you're allowing that as well.
Yeah, but also it's interesting because, the idea of like gathering at the table is so important. And, Baz, one of the greatest punishments you can give him is to force him to eat alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He is like, if I'm busy and I'll be like, "Here, Baz," and he'll be like, "I'm just gonna eat all by myself." Like that's like he loves to sit at the table together. We don't eat in front of the TV. We sit at our table, we talk, I hear about their day, we chat. Like they really look forward to that moment of attention from their
Mhm.
parents to share and to be with us. So yeah, if you want to really get at Baz, you'd be like, "You're gonna eat in the kitchen by yourself." And he would not appreciate that at all. He wants to eat together and he needs his three courses. He's like, "Where's my dessert? Where's my salad or my cucumbers?" Like he needs all of it. So I love that. It's not just about the aesthetics, it's also about the experience.
Absolutely. Yes. And, something that you mentioned earlier in terms of like in America and the loneliness is there are so many people who do eat by themselves, or a family, right?
Yeah.
Someone will be in this room, will be in that room,
Yes.
or you're
Yeah.
at the table. Oh my gosh, what drives me insane is people are
Yeah.
at the table with the phones. At the
Oh yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because then like you said, it's not just even about the aesthetics. Even when we're together, we're not together. So
yeah.
I love the piece of like, hey, we're gathering together. We're going to create some joy, some beauty around that to connect and fellowship with one another.
Yeah, and I think that this is an important message because, because of the epidemic of loneliness and because of what we're going through with people being on their screens and their phone a little bit too much, it's like
Yeah.
people are together, but they're not.
Right.
At Thanksgiving, I love my family, but that football was driving me nuts because it was
Mm,
like the kids were so excited to like finally sit, the meal's been cooking for like 10 hours and they're so excited to sit and eat. But, some of my family members were just like, looking at the game on the other screen or just like ready to jump up as soon as their plate was done so that they
right.
could go off. And the kids were just like, that's the moment they've just been waiting for. But I get it, the cultures are different, but I think that, that just is just something that I think we should really work on changing. Put the phones if it's a 30-minute meal or less.
Right.
That phone can wait. Whoever you're talking to can wait. That show can wait. Everybody has recording devices. You can just rewind, I'm sure, and rewatch it.
Right.
So I'm really glad that we don't live that way here. And it's my hope that I can encourage people in America or in other cultures that do that to reconsider, 30 minutes a day to just put it all down and just have a
Yeah.
meal. The kids
No,
love it. Your
I
partner will love it. Your friends will love it.
absolutely just building that beautiful connection. Well, you mentioned your book, which I
Yes.
have. I have it. I have a couple copies everywhere, and people know that they many people get these as gifts, because it's such an amazing book. And
Thank you.
your book, oh my gosh, it's the pictures are great, your writing is great, like just evokes the simplicity of joy and how you incorporate that in your life. It so beautifully like captures the essence of French living. You're talking about lifestyles, being a little different, and celebrates the simple pleasures of life. Like like, I really appreciate that because that's how I try to live my life is like, what are the small, I talk about the small actionable steps. So how does the content of your book align with the mission, of your company? And how do you hope it will inspire people to cultivate more joy in their life?
Well, I think it aligns with my brand, Madame de la Maison, because Madame de la Maison is all around like creating moments of joy. And one of the chapters that I do talk about is the importance of gathering at the table. So,
Hmm.
I think like that's the main chapter that very obviously aligns with what I'm doing in my work. But I think that our life is more than just at the table, right? And I think that by kind of digging and diving into this culture and how the French, um, really understand and know how to tap into joy. Like for them, it's not even conscious. Half of them are like, "What are you talking about?" And then I like point it out. They're like, "Oh yeah, we do that." Um, but it's just to sort of say that it's more than just at the table, like right, it's the way that we live and not being needed, not always needing to do and to have. It's about, sometimes you need to just be. It's getting away from your desk. It's not eating in front of your computer. It's like taking a pause, going to a restaurant to have a meal, or stepping away from your computer and going to your kitchen if you're working from home. Um, it's also like um, finding the joys of how nature can help you, whether that's starting a little garden or going to buy flowers for yourself at times when it's not just an anniversary or a birthday, just because you want to go buy flowers. It's also, finding ways to maybe sit at a cafe, and also, especially as, cultures where we're real busy, like Americans, and I want to point out when I say Americans repeatedly, I am an American. So these are things I have to fight against myself, even though I live here
Mm,
in France.
gotcha.
It's like not always being on the go, right? You don't all everything doesn't have to be to go. Like your coffee doesn't always have, or your tea doesn't always have to be to go.
Yeah.
Your lunch doesn't always have to be to go. You don't have to walk down the street eating your sandwich, shoving it in your face. Um, you deserve to sit down and like consume that food or that beverage. And I think that joy, it's that's the message of the book, is that it's about finding joy in everyday life. And I think that I was trying to say, like, there's just living your life, but like a good life is one where you're not rushed, where you're
Mm.
not stressed about what do you have or what do you not have, when you don't feel like you need to look a certain way or run a certain way or be doing something. So I think that was that was my intention, is that yes, what I'm doing in my work is one chapter of it, but there's more to it than just that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to say yay because I know your book just celebrated a year. Whoop whoop whoop.
Yes.
And your launch, oh my gosh, like following your launch and your book tour was so exciting. Of course, you got to come here to
Yes.
Austin and I got to follow you around, which was fun. But can you
Yes.
share the most thrilling and memorable moment from the book launch and any other touring experiences?
Yeah. I would say that in general, um, going on tour is so magical, because after you've been sitting in front of your computer for like 2 years working on a book and having absolutely no idea how it will be received, then to meet strangers who don't know you, and then for them to tell you that they love what you're doing,
Yeah.
or that they've driven down from a faraway place, because you only have so many stops. Maybe it wasn't in their town. They've driven from a faraway place to tell you that they want to meet you. That was really touching to me, just to be like sitting in my little universe and to imagine that there's someone on the other side of the world that
Mm.
wants to meet me and that thinks what I'm doing is encouraging to them and helpful to them. That was probably the most memorable, because when you're standing there, you just, I don't know, those feelings that I had um, were really touching. So for me, that was just, I mean, absolutely the best, was just meeting everybody in all the different cities.
Yeah, well, I have to say, as someone who got to follow you around a little bit, that I really enjoyed watching people be excited. like
Yeah.
standing in line, like, I'm on the outside, right? I know you were
Yeah.
there, like, signing or not, but like being on the outside watching, and like people couldn't wait. They're standing in line with their book and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like talk to
Yeah.
Ajiri. And then like they had like maybe different pictures picked out, like, oh, I can't wait to ask her about this. And like people were like, oh, let's take a picture. And
Right.
as your friend, I am so proud of you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
we've been through so much together,
Yeah.
starting young, and
Yeah.
just to see how people, first of all, people have always loved you, like always.
Yeah.
I remember when
I
you were
don't know
running
about
for
that.
class.
I was not the nicest kid in the 8th grade.
Okay, maybe not then, but I remember in high school when you were running for class president. Wait, what was the slogan?
Look like a butterfly, sting like a bee, vote for me, Muhammad Aki.
Yes, and that was so awesome. And I remember your campaign, like, I didn't even want to run. I just wanted to be part of your campaign. Like, let me be the campaign manager. Is
Yeah.
that people have always rallied around, and you've always been great at creating this sense of community. And
Mm.
so, like, watching you on the tour, that's what you were doing. It was like this sense of community. I remember, like, going to that bookstore full of
Yeah.
like, well, books and little trinkets,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like going to your
With
friend's
me.
wallpaper store. It
Yeah.
was this community that you
Yeah.
were bringing together, like you said, from afar. And it's so beautiful, Adri, like what you're doing, because the
Beautiful.
simplicity of it, like it
Yeah.
helps people to realize that they can create like beautiful, joyful moments.
Yeah. I think when I was in Nashville in January,
Mm.
which was not actually a book tour, but it was, an event related to the book. I mean, first of all, when Carolyn and Susan came to meet me on the book tour, I saw them in the line and they were like, ladies. And then when it was their turn, they're like, we would love for you to come speak at our garden and antique show. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. Turns out my brother was the teacher of one of their children. And she said, oh, well, we'd been following you. And I was like, this woman should come speak. And I showed it to my partner and she was like, oh my God, that last name. Sent it to my brother. And
Oh.
she says, do you know this woman? He goes, yeah, that's my sister. And she was like, yeah, it's meant to be. So I'm thinking like, okay, these are just really lovely Southern women. And I get to Nashville and I mean, the same nerves I had before every book tour event
Mhm.
was amazing. And I was speaking after Ina Garten, who is like this, big, amazing force of a celebrity. And I'm just like, everyone's going to go to Ina and leave. It's going to be like, whatever. And that room had over 1,000 women in it who, I mean, I just remember my heart was racing. And, Susan was in the back with me in the green room and the security was there and they're like, you ready? And I'm like, guess so. And I get out. I mean, first of all, when I got to Nashville, everywhere I went, people would stop me for 2 days before I spoke. And they
Mm.
would stop me and say, oh, we're coming to your talk tomorrow. We're coming to your, oh, I saw you on the program. Oh, that's you. And I was just like, wow, it was just like pure love. And I was so nervous before I went on. Ooh, and I'm going to get emotional. But then Susan came to the green room and she was just like, all right, Azure. And she was like, there's a lot of people that want to hear you speak. And I
Yeah.
just remember being like, oh my God. And she just looked at me and she goes, your mother would be so proud.
Oh.
And I just was just like, wow. Of course, there's been many moments that I've had to speak and, have thought to myself, yes, my mom would be proud. But it was just the amount of people that were there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the amounts of people that were there really shocked me. And then, as soon as I said, okay, thank you, after I spoke, the police officer whisked me off. And then the police case said, well, are you ready for your signing? And I was like, well, yeah. My brother was back there and I was hugging him and my sister, Jen. And they're like, there's a lot of people out there. And I was like, oh, yeah. They're like, we mean like a lot. I was like, okay. And I go out there and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, my brother was just like, he was like, do you need water? Can I get you anything? And he
Aw.
took this video and people waited for over 2 hours.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. And at the end, all the volunteers who were so kind to me, so helpful, and the police officer and my brother stood there for over 2 hours next to me, just like, making jokes. And they came to me at the end and they just said, Azure, we just have to tell you, from the first person, to the last person at the end of that line over 2 hours, you treated everyone exactly the same as if they were the only one in the line.
Yeah.
And they just felt so grateful for having waited 2 hours. And this was just so wonderful. And I was, this was just the entire Nashville experience, was just still, I mean, I laid in bed and cried the next morning for like 2 hours because I was just like, why? Why me?
Because that's what you
But thank you for this experience. So that,
yeah.
I still get emotional thinking about that because, I just think about like very well from knowing me, that little girl who was at your house many times and your mom, and you always trying to like give me boost of confidence while you were frying my hair out.
We won't talk about the bad perms.
You're frying my hair with those perms you're giving me. But definitely just, the times that I've sat at your house crying, or you'd have to come pick me up because, you had to come pick me up many times. So, to have that moment was really amazing. So my mom wasn't there, but my brother and Jen were, and she was there in spirit. And so that really touched my heart.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I didn't
No.
mean to get emotional.
No, thank you.
Busted, like pulling on my mascara, like down my face.
All right, look, pause. Let's fix the makeup. No.
Okay.
Thank you
little
for
face wrap. Where's my glam team? Oh, it's just me.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that, Ajiri. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm so proud of you, and that's what you do. Like, that's what you do. Just period. And embrace that, and just know that you are such a beautiful human. Yes, we all have our faults, whatever, right? Yeah, you've had friends come and go or whatever, right? But think about the communities that you have created literally all over the world. My mom always talks about your wedding and how there was somebody probably from every continent except for Antarctica.
That's very true. Very true.
And it's because of how you bring people together. And I love how your business represents who you are, is bringing people together.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, your mom, my dad, they're both looking. Uncle G's up there like, that's my baby.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, he's talking to me, telling me that. But
don't worry, I can film sometimes when I'm late. Every time I'm late, I'm telling me to be more respectful of people's time. So
right. Look, sidebar, y'all, we got many lectures on time management. And that's probably why I'm like I am. So sorry out there to you if you are 1 minute late and I leave or I'm upset. It's his fault. It's his fault.
Yeah, absolutely. He used to get on us.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ajiri, I want to thank you so much for talking about your business. Now, I would like to talk a little bit more about you personally and how you prioritize joy in your own life. So, like, what are some things, like, how do you prioritize joy? Especially because, like, you have this amazing, business that you're running, and there are a lot of demands with that. And then also, you have your 2 kiddos and your husband and all your many friends.
Yes.
So, how do you prioritize joy for you?
Well, something I do is I make, like, joy for me is a value, and I make it my North Star. So, I ask myself sometimes, I have to remind myself and ask myself again sometimes, like, is this going to bring me joy? No. Yes. But also, more than that, because definitely, there's a lot of things I have to balance: the family, the kids, the work. And I realize, as much gathering and togetherness and being with my people that I need the equal amount of solo time.
Okay.
Like, it's, as I've gotten older, I literally almost need it more and more 50-50. So, what does that look like for me? I love to go on a lot of solo vacations, which in the beginning, my husband probably thought was weird, but now he's so used to it that, these are the gifts he gives me. I need solo vacations. I love sitting at cafes, like, I have to pick my kids up. I'll probably go to the cafe 30 minutes before and just sit there or in the middle of the afternoon. I love sitting at cafes, especially when it's great weather. I I love going to the museum alone. It's fun to go to the museum with a friend, but then maybe they don't have the rhythm that you have, and I find that it's not meant to stress me out, but it kind of takes away from my museum joy sometimes when I just want to like stroll in the way that I want to stroll. So, those are the things that I need to do, or just I need to be alone as much as I need to also invite friends over, meet people for lunch, have parties at my house, go on group trips with my friends. So that's
Yeah,
that's how that's what I need to do.
it's funny you mentioned that because that's how I started the podcast. Something that brings me joy is the solo trip that I just went on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can do
And
that too.
yeah, I just started that though, like a couple of
Good.
years ago, and it was so at first it was so uncomfortable
Yeah.
because like I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go by myself. Like, who do I talk to? Like, do I
Oh,
go here
it's
by
so
myself?"
lovely. You read your book. You don't have to talk
But,
to anyone. You don't
but
have to
now,
compromise about where you're going to go, what you're going to do. No, your
yes,
brain is just like, I'm not compromising. If I don't leave my room today, nobody will ever
that's
know. And I don't care.
exactly. Exactly. And I love it. I'm like, I could get up as early as I want. I can sleep in as late as I want. I could walk. I could sometimes I like to take a Uber where I'm going. Like you said, like I was like walking around this beautiful park because the weather was amazing in San Diego. And then I was like, oh, this is a great garden to just plop down and read my book because I took it with me. So I read my book for like an hour and then I was like, I could go for a chai. So I ended up in this cute little cafe that, oh my goodness, Ajiri,
Yeah.
you would have loved. It was
Oh,
called Atelier Blossom, and it
cute.
had
Mhm.
chandeliers, fresh tea, cute little cups, these old school
Love it.
chairs, like very
Love
antique. And I was like, I'll show you some pictures. I was like, oh, Ajiri would love this. But
it.
I just went with the flow, and it was so cup filling. And then I started working on my computer, and then this guy like was like, hey, what you working on? Like, so there were like a few little combos here and there, but I
Yeah.
was so good with that solo time. So plus one
Yes.
to what you're saying. I never though, me when we were growing up, like we always had to hang out with somebody.
Yeah.
So I never thought
Absolutely.
that I would
Yeah.
get to a place in my life where I actually loved spending time with just Jania.
Me too. I absolutely adore it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So
Yes, yes.
that for me is like, feels good. Love it.
Yeah. And do you have any like daily rituals or practices? I know, like you said, the cafes. Is there anything like that you do daily or like often that you like to incorporate that brings you
Yeah,
joy?
I'm glad you added the word often at the end because,
Okay.
I'm daily is kind of,
Yeah.
a bit harsh for me. But I would say it's what I do is I get up really early in the morning here. Um, Not in the winter because the winters are so long and so dark here, and not in the spring anymore because the spring has been gross. But I get up like today. I get up at like 6:30 because the sun's already up at like 6 or 6:30 or whenever we were living in the south of France. I get up really early and I sneak out and go sit outside on the terrace or by the pool when we were in the south. And I look at my clock, and if it's 6:30, I'm like, and my kids sleep late if there's no school. I'm like, ooh, I have from 6:30 till about 10, which is
Oh,
a long time because Thomas and the kids they'll sleep till 10. So
nice.
I know I have that much time. And sometimes if I don't get out at 6:30, if I get out at 7:30, I'll be like, dang it, I lost an hour. So I like to get up really early, sneak out, I have tea, I can do whatever I want. I'll tiptoe around because if they hear me and if I give off too much energy, then they're coming.
Coming for
They
the good
love,
vibes.
huh?
Coming for the good vibes.
Oh my gosh, if I go back and forth down there in front of the room a little too many times, like, because Mimi will be like, Mom, wake me up. I want to have alone time too with you. And I'm like, mm-hmm. So if she just hears creak, she'll just be like, she'll arrive with her journal too. And I'm like, hi, Numi. so, so for me, that's, I would say it's something I try to do often is like that, like it's the morning, there's no text messages, there's no emails I'm about to check, there's no one needs anything from me, no husband asking me any questions where things are. It's just me, myself, and I, and the silence. And it's like a blank page morning kind of
Mm.
feeling. I like that.
Ooh, I like that. And any hobbies?
Oh, I've literally been saying I need to get a hobby.
Okay.
I'm like so jealous of people who have hobbies. Like my husband is a big tennis player, and I tried to make that my hobby
Oh,
too, but
yeah.
he didn't want to play with me because he doesn't think I'm very good.
Okay.
And then also, like in Paris, it's sort of hard because everybody wants to play tennis, so it's not that easy to get a court. So, when we were in the south of France, I enjoyed it as a hobby because it's easier. I just get in my car and go to meet with a coach twice a week. But in the city, it's just so hard. So, I'm open to ideas for hobbies. I'm, maybe taking up playing cards. I don't really know, but I need a hobby. Oh, I did start calligraphy for a while, and I was doing that in the morning while I listened to music.
Oh,
And then, somehow I haven't done that in a while, but maybe it'll come back again. But I'm hobby searching.
okay. Okay. I think, I remember you did calligraphy some when we were in school. You always had such
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think I've always loved it. I don't know if you remember in the
Yes.
eighth grade, we thought we were gangsters. And so we would try to learn how to tag and like write graffiti art. So it
Yeah.
started with that. And then I moved on from that to wanting to learn calligraphy and like lettering. So I think it's something I've clearly always wanted to do, lettering and watercolors. And, I remember we did a big mural in my bedroom. I don't know if you remember, we did like a Looney Tunes mural
Oh my
with
gosh,
graffiti all
yes.
over it.
I do.
I don't know why my dad let me do that, but
He was allowing you to express yourself creatively, as long
exactly.
as it's in your room and not outside in
I
the
know,
main area.
yes. So I think definitely probably calligraphy is something that I'll probably pick back up because it seems to be something I've always kind of referred back to. Um, yeah, for sure. I think that maybe that would be definitely be one of my hobbies. I guess the thing is like I need a different hobby more than just calligraphy because calligraphy
Mm,
I was just sort of like practicing in the book and then
yeah.
like I'm not going to write anyone a letter in all calligraphy. And then I've
Okay.
already like calligraphied notebooks like my name, but I need, something more. I think I would definitely like to go back to tennis if I had an easier access to it here, just because, I like that tennis is physical and it's so challenging. There's so many things you have to learn.
Yeah.
And, after you've like sweated and learned everything for like your hour lesson, you feel kind of really good about yourself. And I've also noticed that there's so many old people playing tennis, and there's nothing I want more than to be like a 70-something-year-old woman, like
Right.
slowly like hitting and
I
like this
love
is something I can do into my older age. And I
that.
absolutely appreciate that because it's like you go to the club in your little skirts and you play with your friends, and then you have a drink or a tea after and you like meet. I love when I go to the tennis clubs and there's like a group of people, like older women and men there just like sitting at the club. So that's why I think maybe I'm also
Okay.
attracted to tennis.
I love that. I love that. That's so cute. Look, when you're talking about old people, I go to Pilates and there's this lady that's there and we go to like the 6:30 class and she has her coffee with her and she comes in with that. We're
Girl,
doing, I think our class is about like 45, 50 minutes. She's doing all the moves and I'm like, how's she doing it so effortlessly? First of all, because
yeah.
I'm like shaking. But to your point, I'm like, yes, that's how I want to be. Cause
I
she
don't
looked
want
like
to be
she
stiff. I want to, yeah, I don't want to be stiff. I want to be doing stuff and like doing it with other people. And like, I think I'm a little jealous. Thomas will be like, oh, he has his buddies that he'll be like texting to see if they can get a chord, if they're going to play. And then after they play, they sit and get a sandwich or something. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna
So
send you little reminders like hobby question mark.
yeah, yeah. I don't worry. I Googled what are good hobbies for women.
No,
So
that's cool. That's
yeah, I'll
cool.
find one.
Nice. All right. Well, you have to let me know what you decide and how it's going.
Okay.
So I know we've talked a lot about joy, but I do want to ask you, like, when things are like stressful and challenging, because we are talked about family and business and deadlines and whatnot, like, how do you refocus your energy? So, like, then you can cultivate joy.
How do I refocus my energy?
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably not that different from my answer before. Sometimes I sort of like take time to sort of like do nothing.
Okay.
Um, that could look like taking a walk or laying on my couch and staring at the ceiling.
Okay.
Um, and doing all the other things I said before, like, just moving away because, something is like if I'm stressed or, refocusing my energy or finding like, cultivating joy, I have to get back to doing certain things that I know inspire me. And
Okay.
I'm not going to get any inspiration sitting my buns on a chair in front of a computer.
Mm.
So I need to get up. I need to be like, you know what? I'm stressed out. None of this is bringing me joy. We're going to a museum. I'm going to
Okay.
hop on the train. I'm going to go to a museum. Or, I just need to like take a pause. So it's like, hitting the pause button and being like, or sometimes if it's cold, like I said, I'm not a winter person. So, my laziness and dislike for the winter will not allow me to go outside of my house. I might still hit the pause button. And as you can see, I don't know if you see that here, but I have a lot of books, a lot of inspiration
Mm-hmm.
books, a lot of art
Mm-hmm.
books, photography books. I might pull like 4 of them out, 2 or 3 of them out, and just open them up. Just open up my own collection of books and go through them, like read them or look at the images, make a little mood board of things that I like, or just consume the images without having to do anything with them. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like how, and I appreciate how you said your answer is not too different from what you answered before in terms of some of the personal things that bring you joy. And the reason why, like, I like that you pointed that out is sometimes the normal things that bring us joy, that's what can help in challenging situations, right? To
absolutely.
like, because
Yeah,
basically what you were talking about is like breaking up the monotony of what brought you to that place. And when I say monotony, like being in our thoughts, right? Like you said, sitting there is not going to help. So doing
no,
the things that already bring you joy. Like
yeah,
something that I like to do is tell people like write a joy list.
yeah,
And I know you talked about that too. So when I talk about a joy list, it is the things that you do that bring you joy.
yeah,
Because sometimes when we're in challenging situations, we forget. So it's
yes,
like if you have
absolutely.
your list, you can be like, oh, you know
Yes,
what? For me, I like coloring. Let me bust out my coloring
yeah,
book real quick. Like, oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I like how you said that because that's
yeah,
true. Like some of the things that we normally do can help us break up that stuck feeling in our
yeah,
body to
yeah,
go from challenging and
yeah,
to, and when I say joy, just because we're in a challenging situation, it's not like, oh yay, now I'm better, but
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
helping you to work through it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said before, like the French are the kings of complaining, kings and queens of complaining, and but they still manage to pull through the fog and find joy. And I definitely journal too. I have
Nice.
3 different journals that I kind of write down, and I've kind of moved away from gratitude journals just because I feel like it started to get I was answering the same thing, and I have moved to like documenting joy also just because it's more specific about like something that happened during the day as opposed to just
Mhm.
like general things that I'm grateful for. So, I mean, for me, that works a little more.
Yeah, something I started doing at night is what's the best thing that happened today.
Yeah, that's great.
And so then I focus. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, because then
Yeah,
I'm going to bed thinking about that thing, and like I'm like all like happy and joyful, excited about it.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, Adri, oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. So, I want to end the podcast with like rapid fire joy questions. So, whatever comes
Okay,
to mind first. There are about 4 questions.
okay,
Ready?
ready.
Okay. So, the first is what parts of your morning routine bring you joy?
Being alone.
Okay. Okay. How do you wrap up your evening to ensure you are going to bed feeling joyful?
Mm, getting cozy, reading a book.
Nice. Okay. How do you stay committed to joy?
Ooh. Remembering that it's my North Star and asking
Mm.
myself, is this going to bring me joy or not?
Okay. And last question. How do you celebrate your wins, big and small?
Journaling, writing them down, remembering because I forget real fast if I'm upset.
All right. Awesome. Oh my gosh. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time because I know you are busy, 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 my friend, taking the time to connect with me on the podcast. I know that my listeners had to have gotten something joyful from our conversation because my friend, you were spreading some joy and I appreciate the way you do it and the way you show up because you are still authentically Ajiri.
Yep, I haven't changed. A little grumpy, but I know how to find joy.
So, Adrienne, tell everybody like where they can find you and what you have going on.
Yeah, so I have 2 Instagrams. My personal is at Ajiri Aki, Arabesque, Ajiri Aki, and sorry, Arabaz, I was speaking French. I don't know why. Sorry.
And I was like, whoop.
At Ajiri Aki. And then my brand is Madame de la Maison at Madame de la Maison. You can also find my book on wherever books are sold. JOIE, A Parisian's Guide to Celebrating the Good Life. You can visit my store. Yes, that's my book. You can visit my store, madamedelamaison.com, where if you'd like to buy some linens, antiques, we pretty much ship 95% all internationally. So we do ship internationally. Everyone asks us that question. So those are the exciting things I have going on, and, you know, some collaborations coming up and fun things. And and don't forget my Substack, my newsletter, which is Notes on Joy by Ajiri. So you can find that also.
Awesome. Well, Ajiri, thank you so much. I know you have to get off today to go finish your busy day. So thank you again.
Have my cafe moment before I pick up my kids.
Yes. And I love you so much, and I appreciate you.
Love you too.
All right. We just wrapped up with Ajiri, one of my closest friends. I hope that you enjoy that podcast. I know I did too. We got a little emotional while we were in there. It was beautiful. I hope that you got out of it what I got out of it, and even more. And that was, you know, embracing the simplicity of life as it relates to joy and those small things that you could do. So as you go off today, think about, like, what is something that you could do or not do that brings you joy? You know, whether that is taking time to read a book, setting the table where it's beautiful and not having your phone, just connecting with your people. Something small that can fill your cup. And remember, celebrate you. And always remember that every day may not be filled with joy, but you can create joyful moments every single day. And that joy is your birthright, my friend. All right, I will catch you next time. Peace. I'm over here doing a virtual dance because you just finished another episode of the Create a Magical Day podcast. Hit subscribe so you never miss a show, and share with a friend who could use a boost of joy. Visit createamagicalday.com for show notes, joy resources, and to join our email list for extra inspiration. If you're looking to connect with more joy creators like you, join my exclusive Joy Creators Facebook group. See you next week. Remember, every day may not be filled with joy, but you can create joyful moments every day. Go out there and make it a magical one.